Welcome, this is part 1 of 2 of my Kurapika build. This is the rings or the chains in his kind of Phantom Troop era of the Hunter x Hunter anime. It's basically made up of materials that are just around the household because it was around 2020 when the lockdowns were at their peak and also when I couldn't go and get materials. So if it seems a little hodgepodge at times, or it seems like I am completely lost at what I'm doing, it's probably why. So without further ado, let's get going.
So the first thing I needed was some clean soft drink cans. Using a box cutter and a pair of scissors, I cut the can so then it could lie as a flat sheet. So I had this little setup going and I just went and held down the cans with some rocks. I then used various types of sandpaper in order to go and sand off the colored side of the soda can. I made some quick prototypes in order to decide which one I wanted to do. And in the end, this is the one that I chose. With the sheet of metal, I went and measured half a centimeter down, then 1 centimeter down, then half a centimeter down again, and marked it with a marker. I then cut them out with a pair of scissors and used 2 strips for each ring. I then bent the metal from the outer edges inwards from the half a centimeter point, and then used a ruler to go and make them nice and flat. I set aside these 2 pieces for now and pulled out the aluminium foil. I folded it to around a 2mm thickness and made sure that it was slightly thinner than the outer band. I then measured all 3 strips to the finger the ring was going to sit on, making sure to make it slightly larger before cutting the excess off. I then used a pair of pliers in order to squish out the air, flatten the aluminium in order to go and make it more compact. So now I had 3 pieces that made up the ring, and I used double-sided tape in order to stick all of them together. I then used the pliers to go and make sure that they were very much stuck together, but also so then I could shape it into a circle. I then used craft wire and cut 2 pieces out that fit around the ring. I then used a spare bit of wire to hold the ring together whilst I glued it together. I did so by gluing the inside of the ring, then the outside of the ring. Then I took the pieces of soldering wire from before and made sure that they fit to the top and bottoms of the ring. I then glued the wire pieces onto the ring with wood glue. This was so that the wire was sitting on the ring properly. Once the wood glue was dried, I used super glue in order to reinforce the wire onto the ring. I focused on the gaps between the wire and the ring, but even with the reinforcement of the super glue, the rings had a tendency to separate from each other. I should have instead used Gorilla Glue, which is made for bonding metal together. I then used metal polish in order to clean the ring and just give the surface of the metal a nice shine. It's not really seen well, but the reason why I use the outer part of the can rather than the inner is because the outer one polished much more nicely. I then just repeated the process 4 more times. To connect the rings together, I used a bunch of old jewelry and a whole heap of eyelets. From the chains, I went and extracted the chains and the lobster clasps. I measured and cut out how long the chains needed to be and fitted an eyelet to the tops of each chain. I used 2 needles of varying sizes from this and this packet in order to put a hole into the front of each ring. I then used jewelry wire to attach the chain to the ring, holding it in place with glue on the inner side of the ring. I then went and attached the rings to the bracelet, but just ignore this bracelet because I swap it out for a completely different one later on. I had to make sure that all of the rings were in the correct place because the rings would not fit on any other different finger. I then went and cut out 5 more chains, all of them the same size, and attached a lobster clip to the ends of each chain. I drew the end chain pieces onto card paper and used a penknife to go and cut multiple of the same pieces out. I then went in stacks with all of the pieces on top of each other and glued them together. I then went and painted the outside with glue as well, just to make them a little bit more sturdy. Once all of the 5 pieces were done, I went and used acrylic paint to go and paint over and color the pieces. I did around 3 to 4 coats before hot gluing the ornament to the end of the chain. I used super glue in order to reinforce it, but again, I probably should have used something like Gorilla Glue that was strong enough to hold it together. I then finalized it by painting a clear coat of nail polish just to go and give the paper a little bit of water resistance. And then I let those hang and dry whilst I found a place for these lobster clips to go and be able to clip on. And this was by hot gluing the eye letter where the ring connected, where there was already hot glue to secure it too. And at this point I already had a completed piece of Kurapika's chains. But as I said before, I went and completely changed the bracelet because I found that the ring bracelet was too stiff for underneath the sleeve. So I found this old chain bracelet and decided to attach the chains to it. I also found out this neat trick, and that was to go and apply body butter onto the hand before putting the rings on, so then the rings can go and slip on and off more easily. It's just more so when walking around and the hands puff up a bit because of the increased blood flow to the hands that it just makes taking off the rings more easy. And there you have it, a DIY Kurapika chain. It's not the most rigid and it's not the best, but it's good for everything that I had in the house being homebound at the moment. But in all honesty, I'm actually really happy with how it turned out.